Yeah, so Facebook's 6 years old next week, actually, and it was the brainchild of Mark Zuckerberg, who's still our CEO, founder CEO, and it was he basically was at Harvard at the time, and was messing around and basically took the idea of taking a physical book and actually digitizing it and allow people to find friends, to look people up, to look up events, and it quickly took off at Harvard, and then he opened it up to all other universities, really, and exploded through the university system in the U.S. and then started international, and subsequently we've opened up to younger audiences and now broader audiences. So we passed the 350 million user mark around the world. About half of those folks come back daily. The kind of things they do are they're just sharing and connecting with friends and family. Kind of stuff we do every day. We're just using technology to kind of activate the social graph. I think social media we've kind of thrown a whole bunch of companies into this bucket of social media, and companies like Facebook and Twitter and MySpace and even YouTube and some of these others, and we've all been bundled in. And I think what you're going to find is the concept of being social is just going to become transparent, right? The internet will become social. And so the idea of a social media company will go away to some degree, because all content will be social in nature, whether it sits on a big portal or if it sits on a news site or if it sits on a youth site. So the idea is the whole web becomes connected and social versus just social media companies. It's going to be pretty cool. I think we look at it differently. So we think that people all over the world want to connect with each other. Whether it's me connecting, my brother works for Nike in Portland, and I keep up with him and his 6 children via Facebook, right? So geography, we're increasingly as a culture, we're moving and kind of spreading ourselves around geographies. So being global has huge advantages. We're now in 90 different languages. So, being able to interact with my friends in whatever language I want from wherever I am in the world is really important. We think it's a huge advantage for us. I think it's the world we've all kind of grown up in media planning and broadcast media, whether it be television, magazines, newspapers, all the way through to the internet, was predicated upon the belief that you had to broadcast a message really loudly in order to be heard, right? So media fragmentation and things like that. And so, the internet, as it evolved into flashing banners and wallpapers and takeovers and things like that. We actually find that in Facebook, that's not what the user's expectations are. And so what we're aspiring to do is to actually create a new approach to things, so that brands actually introduce themselves to users in a different way and become part of their daily activities. So they become part of the social graph. And that requires not a broadcast mindset, but much more of a marketing mindset. So we're really excited about the early indicators of that. When brands do it well, it can have an enormous impact on everything down through their sales. So, we think there's a way to do things a little bit better within our environment. And so that's what we're focused on right now. Facebook's a big brand. We have 1,100 employees. I was up in Egypt yesterday, and there was FacebookEgypt.com or EgyptFacebook.com, right? So we have to identify that. We protect our brand vigorously. It's really important to us that when people think of the Facebook experience, it's trustworthy, it's authentic, and so when people violate that, we do address that pretty aggressively all over the world. But at the same time, when you're a popular brand, you have people trying to take advantage of it. So we just keep our eyes and ears open, deal with it when it pops up, and but otherwise, sometimes we have great programs or products with big advertisers, or someone like a Vodafone who's got a Facebook tariff for their users in Italy. We support that. We think that's important. It's a good value add for our users. So on one hand, we want to be as open as we can. On the other hand, we need to protect ourselves if it's being used inappropriately. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that when you think about how you communicate and stay in touch with friends and family, the evolution of communication was a pretty simple one, which we all sent letters to each other, right? And then we sent emails, and the phone was in there. Then it was instant messaging. Then it was text. And every generation has a new means to interact with friends and family, and Facebook's becoming a core part of that now around the world, and that's definitely having an effect. Just look at the time spent. I think that in some markets, like the UK, 14% of all internet time is on Facebook. We're the #1 site globally now in terms of time spent. So that time is coming from other places, and so it's interesting watching how users' behavior is changing. Advertising-driven model. So we've got our 350 million users around the world. They spend an awful lot of time with us. Half come back daily, which gives us the largest daily reach in the world from almost any media, I think, at this point. Introducing advertisers into that is where we make our money. But we want to do it in a way, again, that's consistent with users' expectations versus just taking old models and trying to put a square peg in a round hole. So it's an advertising-driven model for the foreseeable future.
I don't think anyone could have predicted that Facebook would take off the way it has.
No, absolutely.
So how do you actually manage a brand of this magnitude? It's just growing and growing and growing.
I don't know. I mean, we say, a lot of our clients ask us as businesses, should we have a corporate Facebook page, a presence on Facebook? And one of the cautions we always give them is that if you're there, you have to have people there who are able to manage it on an ongoing basis. And that's just one corporation. Imagine managing brand Facebook and their 400 million users. It's an astonishing success story, isn't it?
Basically, they're a social networking site, though. Let's talk about the rest of Africa. Do you think they use it effectively?
I don't know. I would think that they're far behind the trend. We had a presentation from Arthur Goldstuck the other day about general internet usage trends in South Africa and the rest of Africa. And you can see in the rest of Africa, obviously, it's a long way behind, and that's obviously because of their connectivity issues and their ability to get onto the internet.
That's a pity, isn't it? With telecoms industry making such inroads into Africa.
And in some places faster and better than others. Places like Nigeria have got a lot of focus on them and so on. But Africa's a vast continent. When you talk about Africa in a globular sense, I mean, the vast majority of it is just not a connected environment, which is a shame, because the benefits that people are able to achieve from it are enormous. I think personally, I'm a great fan. I think it's something that's changing the face of media and the way people interact with each other. I think
it's changing the way that marketing strategies are being put together.
I think so. It's an interesting space from a business point of view on Facebook. It's a little bit difficult to grasp where it's going to end up because, as you say, it's a social networking environment. Now we're seeing businesses coming in and developing corporate Facebook pages. They've got good strategies behind that. And where is it going to end up? But the statistic we were looking at just this week is that if Facebook were a country, it would be twice the size of Japan.
With so many friends.
Yeah, but that's a virtual social environment that's twice the size of one of the strongest economies in the world. Now that's worth paying attention to, isn't it?
Do you think their growth trend is set to continue for this year and in 5 years' time?
I would say for the next couple of years, it would seem that growth trend is going to continue. There surely has to come, there has to be some saturation level, which has got to be linked, one would imagine, to the level of the connected world. Because you're not part of Facebook if you're not properly connected in an online way. So there's got to be a saturation level. But I don't know where that
maybe now if you have to pay
comes.
for a subscription, people won't be able to.
I think paying to be part of Facebook would cause a very, very significant change in the growth and the profile of users and that kind of thing.